Hello, I'm Adrian Finnegan. This is Counting the Cost on Al Jazeera, your weekly look at the world of business and economics. This week, China's mission to reinvent the Silk Road. Pakistan is a key part of that plan to connect 3 billion people in Asia, Africa and Europe via trade routes. But what happens to the local economy when all roads lead to Beijing? Also this week, he's France's youngest leader since 1848. But does Emmanuel Macron have what it takes to reboot the French economy and reform the European Union? Plus, Cuba's open for business, so why does uncertainty continue to cloud the economic outlook there? China's One Belt Road, it's been described as the largest overseas investment drive ever launched by a single country. So far, China's pledged $900 billion. And all of this money is being used to build ports, highways and power grids in about 60 different countries. When it's finished, this ultra-modern trade route will give China much easier access to markets all over the world. The project's been criticized for many reasons. One of the main problems surrounds who really benefits. Infrastructure projects don't always end in growth. What happens when the countries involved are unable to pay back their Chinese creditors? Since the project was first announced in 2013, China's growth has slowed, but Beijing is pressing ahead, even when debt stands at 250% of its GDP, which leads some people to say that this grand vision is really all about expanding China's political influence via economics. India, the USA and Australia have declined so far to be part of it, although places like New Zealand and Pakistan have embraced the mega project. Well, China's pumping $55 billion into Pakistan. It's building a China-Pakistan economic corridor, a network of road, rail, power and port projects. This massive foreign direct investment is, on the face of it, going to good use. With Chinese money in its back pocket, the government's attempting to solve the country's problem with power outages, for instance. The Pakistan stock market touched a record high in January. The country is also regaining its emerging market status. This means more international fund managers can and will invest there. Credit rating agency Moody's Investors Service sees a stable outlook, but it's warned about the nation's rising debt. Al Jazeera's Hoda Abdul Hamid asked KHURRAM DASTGIR Khan, Pakistan's Minister of Commerce, whether he's optimistic.
There is a clear sense in Pakistan that Pakistan is about to tackle its energy shortages completely. Pakistan's public finances have stabilized, and we have massively controlled our non-development spending. We have been able to reduce and hold our budget deficit under 4%.
Is there a fear that maybe Pakistan will become too reliant on China?
Well, the fear is there, and many people are writing about it. But I think when a country opens up to the world, I think these fears arise everywhere. I think when China opened up to the West in late 70s, practically the same arguments were made that we are being made in China, made in Pakistan regarding China today. I think what most people don't realize is that more than 3/4 of the Chinese investment is in energy. It's not the infrastructure part that most people focus on, the ports and the roads and the airports. It's actually energy. And once people realize this, they know that this is an investment that came at the right time for Pakistan. And of course, these energy projects are very rapidly reaching fruition and should be able to begin production soon. So yes, there are fears, but at the same time, the infrastructure part of Chinese investment is interestingly, because China has to traverse from the extreme southwest corner, the port of Gwadar, to the extreme northeastern border with China, that is at Khunjarab. It practically traverses whole of the country diagonally. So what it has done is that it is people in all 4 provinces of Pakistan will see this corridor going through them. So yes, there are fears on one side, but I think the people can actually see this project linking Pakistan. It is linking some of our most underdeveloped areas to our developed areas and industrial areas. So the benefits are quite overwhelming compared to the fears that exist.
Okay, but you are also taking a lot of loans from China. Again, will you be able to repay them? Because at a certain point, Beijing will ask for them back.
Well, these aren't exactly loans. Essentially, what Beijing will be calling back is that Chinese companies that are putting up power plants would, of course, will demand payment for the electricity generated. So that, if there is some concern, there would be that, Pakistan, maybe if they fear, but I think the fear is unfounded. We should be able to pay for the electricity we generate. We grew at 4.7% last year. I think we should touch 5% this year. So the growth is only going to grow.
Now, at the end of the day, national economy is about improving the life of citizens of a country. There are about 2 million young people who join the workforce every year in Pakistan. Yet, at the same time, 1 in 12 children around the world who don't have access to school and education are in Pakistan. So, what are you going to do to improve that, to give them a chance to access all of these projects you're talking about?
Well, we are making very serious efforts to bring the non-school going children into school. And in the south of Punjab, one of our provinces, I think a very interesting experiment is happening, which would be, I think, looked at internationally with help of Department of International Development from the UK. We are running probably one of the world's largest voucher systems, in which children can go to any of the private schools in the area. And if the private school is empaneled with the government, the fee is paid by the government. So we are not waiting to take years to build schools or to hire teachers, which of course takes very long time, is to provide immediately the opportunity for education to those children who don't have ready access to government schools. So that's one of the things we're doing. And of course there is massive investment in improving the standards of schools, and in recent years I think there was very good progress in teacher presence, which used to be a massive issue. Now we are, of course, now looking very deeply into learning outcomes. So we are making a serious investment into primary education, all levels of education.
Pakistan now is perceived as getting closer and closer to China. What do you tell other investors about the situation? How do you attract them?
No, I would say that other investors have an equal opportunity in Pakistan. Hundreds of multinationals from all countries in the world operating in Pakistan very successfully, including US multinationals. They've been in Pakistan for decades, and they have been doing good business when other Pakistani businesses were not doing so well. So multinationals are very much a part of the Pakistani business landscape. And I think if anyone wants to really get a sense of whether it is worthwhile in Pakistan to invest, they could just look at the multinationals' balance sheets in Pakistan, and they will be very pleasantly surprised and attracted to Pakistan. Because as I see it, a 200 million population, which is coming out of a relatively dark period of low investments, energy blackouts, it's now coming into the light practically, and it's ready to grow and it's ready to do business. So I think no major company in the world, not just the Chinese, can afford to ignore Pakistan at the moment.
Pakistan's Commerce Minister speaking to Al Jazeera's Hoda Abdul Hamid. Still to come on Counting the Cost, the Philippines declared itself unfit for mining. But is the world's top nickel ore supplier now revising its stance? But first, the Eurozone's second largest economy has a new leader, the pro-European Emmanuel Macron. He wants to reform and reboot both the French economy and the wider EU. And he's not short of enthusiasm for the job.
La tâche qui nous attend, mes chers concitoyens.
The task at hand, my dear fellow citizens, is immense and will be starting tomorrow. It will depend for us to moralize the public life, to defend our democratic vitality, to enforce our economy, to build the new protections of this world around us, to give us a place to everyone through school and work and culture.
Well, in France, Macron has promised to tackle low growth, deliver spending cuts and to fight high unemployment. But what about that other promise, his commitment to improve the operation of the Eurozone? He wants to win over those Eurosceptic voters who fear that globalization will kill off jobs. So he's suggesting a tougher EU, more protective of its own trade interests. He also wants a common budget and even a parliament to boost growth, a tall order indeed. Joining us now from Paris, Veronique NGUYEN, Professor of Strategy at the HEC Business School in Paris. Professor, good to have you with us. Much was made during the election campaign of President Macron's economic credentials. He was, of course, a banker at one point in his career. What are his economic policies or plans? How is he going to move France forward economically?
Well, that's a really good question that you're asking, because the man is new and you may think that he's going to bring about something new in French politics. But basically what he wants to do is just a continuation of what was done during the presidency of François Hollande. So these are small incremental changes to liberalize the economy in France. So it's going to make the labor code more flexible. He wants to diminish the unemployment, the retirement benefits. He wants to cut marginally the government spending, but nothing really radical, nothing that is going to really turn the table.
All right, unemployment at the moment in France running at what, 10.1%, some 3 million people out of work. Where is he going to have better luck than President Hollande did in reducing that number?
The ambition of Macron is very clear. He wants, in a way, to restore France to its greatness. But he has no plan, no strategy to achieve that. The number of unemployed people, as you were saying, is already pretty high. It's like 3.5 million. We are expecting another 1 million people on the labor market over the next 10 years. In France, we're going to feel the brunt of digitization and automation, and nothing has been done or prepared to absorb all these shocks. So I don't see at the moment anything that could change the fate of France, and I would rather forecast a continuous erosion of the power and the influence of France.
Of course, President Hollande fell foul of the labor unions. President Macron says that he wants to see some thinning of the labor laws in France, although there are no plans to scrap the 35-hour working week. How long before Macron falls foul of the unions again? How long before we see street protests like we did against President Hollande's policies?
It's going to happen very soon, and just the day after his election there were already people protesting in the streets, so you can expect a lot of demonstration, a lot of people angry. You can expect also a lot of people voting for extremist parties. And it's not because he was elected with an incredible number of voters, 66%, that he has completely eliminated the rest of the country, which is basically anti-free trade, anti-Europe. So we still have 50% of the nation that doesn't go along with this project. When we look at the polls, it's very interesting because most people that voted for him either because they didn't want to vote for his opponent, or they voted for him because he was new in the political landscape, because of his personality that is young, that is energetic, that is charismatic. And only 16% of the people that voted for him voted for his program. So it's only 3 million people out of 50 million people that were registered voters that really voted for him. So I think that there is a really weak support for his policy in France.
You say that he wants to take incremental steps as far as the economy is concerned. He has a more pro-business approach than his predecessor. He's going to make permanent some 40 billion euros in tax breaks to try to invigorate the economy. He's going to reduce corporate tax by 10%, introduce a new wealth tax. Will that be enough, at least, to bring in the support of French businessmen and investors?
No, but he already has the whole support of the business community in France. If you look at the financial market, there's a good reason why the financial markets, they have gone up after his election. Right? So the problem is not, I would say, the business community, the people that are holding the power. The problem is the people that are going to fight his measures, that are going to be very reluctant to give him a majority in the parliament. So these are going to be pretty tough for him to govern France in the next 5 years.
President Macron wants France, of course, to stay in the Eurozone, but he wants to see EU reform. To what extent is he going to be locking horns with politicians in Brussels? The euro, of course, strengthened the day of the election result when Mr. Macron was voted into power, but dropped again the very next day. Is there going to be tension between Paris and Brussels?
Yeah, there might be slight tensions, but not on the scale that you may have had if Marine Le Pen had been elected. So I think that Macron is the candidate of the European Union and won't be in the position to ask anything. You know, the power force is not in his favor. So I think that France is going to have to comply with the European rule for the next 5 years.
Professor, many thanks indeed for being with us on Counting the Cost. Great to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Now, a crackdown on mining in the Philippines could be about to ease. Over half the mines in the world's top nickel ore supplier were ordered to shut, and open-pit mining was banned altogether earlier this year. Nickel's a key ingredient in the global stainless steel industry. But last week, the Environment Minister, who said that the Philippines was unfit for mining because of its unique ecosystem, was dismissed. And now the new head of the Environment Ministry says that it is possible to balance mining and natural resources protection. Now, an auction for one of the world's largest diamonds failed this week. The government of Sierra Leone rejected a $7.8 million bid for the rough 709-carat stone. It's the largest uncut diamond to be found in 4 decades. The government now hopes to get more for the stone at an international auction. It was discovered in the Kono district in eastern Sierra Leone, where many depend on mining for their livelihood. Nina de Vries reports.
Every morning, Saliu Kargbo heads out to work at a mining site near his village. A few years ago, he found a small diamond, but says he only received a fraction of its worth.
2 weeks ago now.
2 weeks ago, I had to take my daughter to the hospital, but I did not have the money at first for the blood transfusion. I really struggled to find it.
That's because of how miners are paid here. Kargbo works for his uncle. He handed the diamond over to him to be sold. He got a bit of cash and a promise to build him a house. IBRAHIM CONTEH has found several diamonds over the years, but has no idea how much they sold for.
Small change.
It's just a small amount of money they are often giving us. We don't really understand its value, so a boss just gives us what he feels.
Many hope it will be a different story for the proceeds of the huge diamond found in a nearby village called Koyadu. The 709-carat gem, one of the largest ever found, was discovered by a local miner like Kargbo. It's valued in the tens of millions of dollars. The owner of the land where it was found handed it over to the government. About 400 people live in Koyadu, a mining community like many others, lacking in many basic services. One of the things people in Koyadu want is better access to a health center. Right now, none exists in the community. Their only option is 30 minutes on a motorbike into the main town to get access to the nearest health center. Miner Peter Bamoy says improved education should be a priority.
You see, if somebody is educated, they know what he or she is to do in the community. You see, so it's one of the key points.
The Sierra Leone government agrees communities like Koyadu need more attention.
Healthcare continues to be essential, particularly when we have expanded the coverage to include the disabled people, as well as the Ebola survivors. Education remains pivotal.
There are corruption concerns in Sierra Leone. However, the government says it's making the bidding for the diamond completely transparent. Miner Saliu Kargbo says he hopes the government will follow through with their promise so that his children can have a promising future.
Now, we saw this week how the battle for internet consumers, that's you and me, by the way, is heating up. Companies in this space are all after the same thing, internet users. That's how they get billions of advertising dollars. Just last month, Snap, the parent of photo-sharing app Snapchat, was the highest-profile technology IPO so far this year. But its first set of earnings as a publicly listed social media company failed to sparkle. In fact, it posted a much wider than expected $2.2 billion quarterly loss. But worse than that, user growth was less than expected in the final 3 months of 2016, just around the same time that Facebook-owned Instagram launched copycat rival features. Fierce competition in the airline industry is hitting Dubai-based Emirates. It reported its first fall in profits in 5 years. Imran Khan reports.
For the first time since 1995, Emirates Airlines will not pay a share dividend to its owner, the government of Dubai. That's because its net profit for this past year fell to 340 million, compared to 1.94 billion the year before. Its revenue stayed the same at 23.2 billion. The airline cites a variety of reasons, blaming Europe's immigration challenges and terror attacks, Britain's vote to leave the European Union, and new policies introduced by the Trump administration on travel to the US, which include a ban on electronics such as laptops.
There's been an overcapacity in the market, and Emirates are as guilty of this as everybody else. They're getting a 75% yield, which they're getting 75% of their seats filled, but they're putting more capacity in with more aircraft. And I think we'll still see Emirates investing. They've put back the delivery of some of the aircraft they're getting, but they will need to continue to invest because always in the aviation industry, we have peaks and troughs, and Emirates in the past have shown to be incredibly wily at buying aeroplanes in a trough.
Years of rapid expansion and big profits means the airline is in good shape, and industry experts say while the latest report might be bad news on the surface, overall the airline is flying high. It remains confident that it can navigate its current financial troubles.
Finally this week, many Cubans say that they're concerned about their economic future. They're waiting for all U.S. trade restrictions on their country to be lifted. Daniel Schweimler reports now from Havana.
Cubans are open for business. Many have been for some time. But it's not happening. Not yet. Ruben Valladares founded Adelgraph, making personalised bags, 5 years ago, and works around the clock from his home on the outskirts of Havana, employing 40 people. He has potential business partners in Miami, but is waiting for the obstacles to trade to be lifted.
I
believe in the future in a really strong consolidated relationship. It will depend on political will on both sides. And as we as business people contribute each day to that understanding, to convert that idea of two business partners, two neighbors complementing each other into a reality.
In 2014, President Raul Castro and the then US leader Barack Obama normalized relations after more than 50 years of Cold War antagonism. The barriers to trade were supposed to come down.
There's a dynamism, but not with the same rhythm or vigor as at the beginning. That's because everyone is waiting to see what position the new US administration takes. So far, we've seen nothing negative towards Cuba. On the contrary, I think they're letting things continue as before.
Tourism has been booming, with huge numbers of US visitors coming to Cuba, on flights and cruise ships, with plenty of hotels being built to accommodate them.
And there are still many obstacles. The more than 50-year-long US trade embargo, which the Cubans call a blockade, is still in place. And there's plenty of opposition in both camps, among some in the Cuban community in Miami, but also among members of the Cuban government, for whom capitalism is still a dirty word.
Marabou is a prickly invasive plant originally from Africa, now with roots infesting thousands of hectares of Cuba's potential arable land. No one likes it, except Andrew MacDonald and his BIOPOWER company.
This is a piece of marabou,
which turns it into a non-polluting fuel. They export to Europe, but the US should be an enthusiastic market.
There's a huge amount of it, and it's also sitting on top of arable land. So we're returning a lot of land back to arable productive use, and this as a biofuel is a lot of people's dreams as a biofuel.
Few doubt that the US and Cuba will again do business, that it's only a matter of time. but they've been saying that on both sides of the Florida Straits for many years. There's been progress, but the long wait for full, normal relations continues.
Daniel Schweimler in Havana, ending our show for this week. Don't forget, there's more for you online at aljazeera.com/CTC. That'll take you straight to our page, which has individual reports, links, even entire episodes for you to catch up with. You can also get in touch with us on Twitter. I'm at @afinnegan. Please use the hashtag AJCTC when you do, or drop us a line. Counting the Cost at aljazeera.net is our email address. But that's it for this edition of Counting the Cost. I'm Adrian Finnegan from the whole team here in Doha. Thanks for being with us. The news on Al Jazeera is next.